Greetings, Taco Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm here to bring you all yet again another Vikings episode review right here on Otaku Assemble Weekly. And as always, here to bring you the latest in this week's Vikings episode review. And this is my review of Season 2, Episode 5, entitled Answers in Blood. Now, general thoughts on this week's episode. Another good episode. Another solid episode. I really enjoyed the action in this week's episode. That's the first main thing I'm going to talk about. Definitely the best we've seen this season, and I would even argue probably the best fight sequence we've seen in the entire series up to this point. Really well done, but we'll get back to that in a moment. Second thing was the character moments, the character development, those scenes, you know, pretty much the martyr that held the episode together. I thought that was really well done, well composed, and I can see some definite payoffs to build up on top of that. And third thing I'm going to mention in this review is the level of intrigue in this episode, the mysteries, the interest, you know, all the little tidbits and Easter eggs we got throughout the episode. While some were annoying, I can sort of see what they're setting up with these things, and I appreciate the effort to go ahead and, you know, start laying the groundwork for those. So yeah, let's just dive further into the review. Let's dive into this now. First thing I mentioned, the action. Like I said, by far best of this season. I would even argue the fight between Ragnar and his forces and Jarl Borg's forces, probably the best fight of the entire series. Probably. The choreography on point. And not only that, not just the choreography, but the cinematography as well. I like how every main character got a spotlight, got their own little like action profile in the fight, and that not only did I think it worked in regards to sort of highlighting each character, but when you focus on that one character in not just a quick, you know, cut. You know, it wasn't just a scene where, okay, we see one character strike someone and then we cut to another one. No, we actually spent, I would say, a couple of seconds where we see them taking on multiple enemies. And the good thing to that is that benefits the choreography, because now we get to see their movements in more detail. We get to see how that fight sequence is actually unfolding, and that's why I thought it was so great. I mean, oh dude, and then, oh man. When okay, first off, anytime they ever throw an axe at someone and it just takes them off their feet, I never get tired of seeing that. I'm sorry, we had it when Ragnar, Bjorn, and what were the two boys' names? Oric and Eric, I think were their names, when they infiltrated Kattegat and destroyed the winter food storage. You know, when Ragnar caught that guy from around the corner with the axe, you know, got him in the face, took him clean off his feet. Never get tired of seeing that. And then of course Rollo had a nice shot during the fight scene as well, man. Just caught homeboy straight in the face. I never get tired of seeing that. Also, there were a lot of Leonidas kicks in this fight, which does make sense. I mean, every time you strike an enemy with an axe, you got to get that axe out of them somehow, right? So yeah, of course, hit him with the axe, followed by with the 300 kick, bam, out of there. Ragnar's scenes, though, I really liked, you know, him slashing through multiple enemies and whatnot, diving and ducking beneath their weapons and stuff. That was really nice. Jarl Borg's choreography was just brutal. I mean, there was the one sequence I remember when he went, when he was defending himself against a shield maiden, and he just wah 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 wah. Bop, 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 until she fell. I'm like, dude, she's dead. She's dead. I mean, it was just brutal. But my favorite, I'm sorry, hands down my favorite, was when Rollo speared that guy. And I'm not talking about spears and put a spear through him. I'm talking about when he tackled him to the fucking ground, man, like a Goldberg spear or something. You know, Man, that was I love that scene so much. It was so cool. So yeah, so like I said, for all those reasons previously mentioned, I think this is the best fight that they've done in the series so far. I mean, feel free to argue in the comments below if you guys can remember a better one than this one, but I'm sorry, I thought this one took the cake. It really did. So the second thing I want to talk about, when I mentioned the character development, the character scenes, we got some pretty good stuff in this episode. First thing I'm gonna talk about is Ragnar and his family, because we got the whole, the full family reunion now. Bjorn reuniting with Rollo, Lagertha and Siggy reuniting, Bjorn meeting his little half brothers, which I thought those were nice scenes, both of them. Well, first time he meets them, and then when they're playing together and whatnot, I like both those scenes. So yeah, all of that I thought was done really well. I really liked Ragnar's conversation with the seer in this week's episode, and mostly because not just because of the story that the seer shared, but just Ragnar's temperament, his disposition in the scene, where it was sort of like, okay, you're not really telling me something I don't already know, but you can kind of see Ragnar's frustration, where even the seer doesn't have the answers for him, and he still wants to keep both families, knowing damn well it's out of his hands. He doesn't have a choice in the matter. Now, when the seer said that, I don't think the seer necessarily meant that, oh, it was in Lagertha's it was her decision at the end of the day. I think he was referring to more of, okay, it's the God's will sort of thing. But no, Ragnar knew what that meant. He was like, okay, so the women are pretty much going to do what they want, and I'm just going to have to deal with it. Hey, Ragnar, you might be a hell of a navigator and a warrior in battle, but let's face it, when it comes to the domestic life and you got to deal with two women, yeah, dude, you're stuck in the same fucking rut as the rest of us. That's just the truth, man. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Second thing I liked was Rollo's scene with Siggy when they were talking about Lagertha, and how Siggy asked him. She said, are you still in love with her? And he went through his little spiel about how the old Rollo did, the new one does not. I like that. It shows character growth, and once again it reinforces what I mentioned about Rollo in the last two episode reviews, how his character has evolved and how has elevated himself. He's gotten above all of his jealousy and animosity towards Ragnar, and I think Lagertha is the final piece of that. Rollo used to covet his brother's wife, and now that he's gotten to this place where he's come to terms with things, he's gotten over his grudge with his brother. That's that last piece where him admitting that means that now it's solidified. Now it's like, no, I'm on the right track. It was the last little tidbit that needed to be tied away. So I really dug that. All right, let's see. What else did I want to talk about? Yeah, I'm gonna talk about Athelstan's. Well, I could talk about Athelstan in both parts, but I'm gonna talk about Athelstan's his scenes in this week's episode. I mean, for the most part, they're playing out like I expected them to. But what I'm still not sold on is, see, now I don't even know what Athelstan's conflict is anymore. I mean, we know he's still, dealing with his religious doubts and whatnot, but to what ends? That's my main question about this episode, and for you all watching this review. To what ends? What is Athelstan hoping to achieve now? Because before, like we saw sort of his reaction when everyone referred to him as a pagan. Despite the fact that he was once Christian, now it's like, okay, you're you're the pagan that was spared, and everyone kind of treats him like that. Especially Ethelwulf, Prince Ethelwulf. But the point I'm trying to get at is this. It's like, okay, so we know Athelstan kind of has, you know, that crutch about him. About, okay, now you're the pagan. No pun intended when I say crutch. But then, like, when he went to the mass, you know, and he took the communion, he spit it out, right? And Ethelwulf saw him. But then the very next scene, when we see him get revisited, now he's praying to be accepted into the faith again. So I am conflicted with what Ethelstan's motive is. What is it that he hopes to achieve? I mean, is he just doing that to get over his guilt? Is he doing that to make it easier on himself so that everyone around him won't treat him like a pariah? I said pariah. Pariah. I don't know. I really don't know anymore. Yeah, I just don't. I really don't know what to make of that anymore. And then before I leave Athelstan though, I do want to mention this though. Another reason why I'm confused about his motives and whatnot is because his behavior is no longer I don't think his behavior is no longer dictated on his environment. And this is what I mean. He's the only one from the Vikings that is still around right now in Wessex. He's the only one left, at least to his knowledge and from what we've seen. He's the only one left, right? So now I can't even argue on his behalf that, oh, he's only acting a certain way with the people that he's around, because that doesn't seem to be the case. If that was the fact, then why would he spit out the communion at the mass? Now, yeah, I did mention that the Christians haven't exactly welcomed him back into the fold. Remember, they just tried to crucify him at the end of last week's episode. But so what? Did he do it out of spite? Do you get the point I'm making? I can't make up my mind. Just as Athelstan can't make up his mind, I can't make up my mind about what it is Athelstan is supposed to be or hoping to accomplish at this point in time in the story. I don't know anymore. Okay, so last thing I'm going to talk about is, like I said, the intrigue that they are building in this, that they kept building in this episode, and the main part of this discussion is going to be the whole thing with Aslaug and her prophecies. This one doesn't make sense to me. In her scene with Ragnar, when they were at the table and whatnot, she mentioned to him that she was afraid that her prophecies were coming true. That scene didn't make much sense to me, because prior to this, it's already been implied that these visions do occur to her, and she seems to have full knowledge of them and have made prophecies before in the past. So is it that all of a sudden they're starting to happen? I don't think that's true, because I think season 1 ended on her having a prophecy about bearing Ragnar's son, or bearing many sons. I could be confused about that, but I'm pretty sure she was the one who said that at the end of season 1. So what is going on now? Because she's always gave off that impression that she had that ability. And what, so is she just now finding out that she's not full of herself? Was that all just an act before, and now she's finding out that it's legitimate? I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. First off, I don't even know what the hell it is she's supposed to be. I mean, does this mean that she's a seer as well as a princess? I mean, you can only assume. And then the second thing that I was like, what the fuck, was when she was talking to Lagertha about how you pronounce his name? Sigurd. And yeah, and she made the comment that not only is he named after she made the comment that not only is she named after her father, but his own father. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Does that mean that the kid's not really Ragnar's son? That she produced him asexually? Do you get what I'm saying? Because if he's named Sigurd, if he's named that after her father, and then she says his own father, that would imply that her father and his father are the same person. So yeah, once again, did she produce him asexually or something, like a fucking serpent? What the hell, man? And I don't even think serpents produce asexually. No, I don't think they do. But anyway, but you get the point I'm making. What the fuck was that about? Somebody help me out. I'm lost. That comment wasn't just in there to be cute. Clearly that's an Easter egg. That's supposed to be foreshadowing to something else. So, help me out. And I am going to close out this review though on the second portion of my intrigue discussion, and that's in regards to the preview for the next episode. Now we find out towards the end of this episode that Horik and his son survived, amongst the few that actually survived the assault back in Wessex. And he's come back to enlist Ragnar's help. He wants to go west again and colonize, taking up Ragnar's advice, which is good. But then he throws in there that he wants Jarl Borg to fight alongside them. And this is when that intrigue comes into play. Now, what the fuck is going on here? Hang on a minute now. Keep in mind, King Horik was the one who told Ragnar he didn't want Jarl Borg sailing west with them, leave his ass behind, and that's why Borg attacked fucking Kattegat the way he did. That's why Ragnar had to abandon that campaign and go back home to fucking get his land back, right? So, and remember, Ragnar was against that from the beginning. So, Horik was the one who created that situation to begin with, right? And now he wants to go and enlist Jarl Borg's help. Now, I got a couple of questions what this is really about. Number one, the most obvious one being, because he said it's like, we need Jarl Borg, we need his men. So the obvious point would be, okay, they need more manpower, because we know Horik lost a lot of men, damn near all his men, over in Wessex, and Ragnar lost half his forces on the way back home because 2 of the ships were destroyed on the way back. So that would be the most obvious choice. But I'd have to imagine that Ragnar would be pretty fucking hesitant to that offer. Number one, because Horik was the one who put him in the situation to begin with. And number two, because Jarl Borg just tried to fucking kill him. So, I really don't... I don't know what the fuck Ragnar's supposed to think about. I mean, that's what I would assume has to be running through his fucking head for Horik to even fucking suggest such a thing. But here's the second thing I want to mention. And this is more of a question I'm posing to you guys, because I'm reaching with this, but hear me out. King Horik and Jarl Borg had their own rivalry, went to war against each other over that. That's what closed season 1, opened up season 2. Ragnar was able to quell that, get them at least civil enough to go west. Horik turns around, tells Ragnar, no, you gotta tell Jarl Borg, take his ball and go home. Borg gets pissed off, attacks Kattegat. Ragnar has to abandon Wessex, go and handle Borg. And then now that everything's all fucking hunky-dory, Borg's back in his crib, Ragnar's back at his. Now Horik comes back and wants to put both of them back together to go back to Wessex. Could it be? And this is based solely on all my comments, especially when I went at length about King Horik in last week's episode. Could it have been that Horik had planned to fucking pit Ragnar and Jarl Borg against each other from the beginning? And this is what I mean, because remember, when he made that suggestion to Ragnar that Borg couldn't sail with them, that was the morning before they left. That was at the last minute. That was after he had already spent that night with Siggy. And you remember, I haven't forgotten that fucking scene. I don't completely trust King Horik because of said scene. So what I'm saying is this. Could it have been that Horik wanted Ragnar and Borg to fight each other, diminish their forces, bounce them off each other so that he could have the the majority stake, so that he could have the higher position, the more manpower after the fallout, so that he would be able to pick up the pieces and reap all the fucking benefit? Because whoever survived that confrontation, whoever survived that could, at that point, after having fought each other, would never be able to go up toe to toe with Horik if they wanted to, not by themselves. And then when shit didn't go the way Horik wanted to, when his men ended up getting taken out back in fucking Wessex, now all of a sudden he got to run back with his tail between his legs and try to piece together the fucking damage that he might have caused from the beginning. Am I reaching with that theory, ladies and gentlemen? Please let me know in the comments below. All I'm saying is, I don't trust that motherfucker. And I'm not taking my fucking eyes off of him. There's something up. Something is amiss. And I want to know what you all think about that. Feel free to share them in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on this week's episode. Let me know your thoughts on the preview. Let me know what you guys think is going to go down next week's episode, because I don't trust Horik. I don't. I really don't. That sneaky motherfucker. I don't trust him. Anyway, so that's going to wrap up this week's Vikings episode review. I want to thank you all for joining me again this week. Keep an eye out tomorrow. All of my Game of Thrones fans, all of my A Song of Ice and Fire aficionados, my Game of Thrones Season 4 expectations video is going up tomorrow. Keep an eye out for that. And with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, signing off. And until next time, peace.